With the purchase of Windsurf by OpenAI, I spent some time making sure that my Windsurf had the same setup as my cursor. And then I decided I should probably have my VS Code all be the same. So, anyways, I get a lot of questions about the extensions and settings that I have for my code editors, and I wanted to just quickly show you it. No fluff, no BS. Let's just jump in. If you didn't know, I'm Parker X, and I make a lot of YouTube videos as well as build a lot of software. So I led technology for a startup that sold for $23 million. And after that, I've been on a journey learning how to use AI every day. And we have a community of people way smarter than me, which is going great. And I really love it because I am not your guru. We all learn together. So let's see. First of all, on the left, we have Windsurf. On the right, we have Cursor. On the left, within Windsurf, is a polyglot monorepo with Python and TypeScript, specifically using TanStack start. And on the right, we have a turbo monorepo with a bunch of TypeScript, basically next. So when it comes to my extensions, if you didn't know, you can do Command-Shift-X. And the ones that I really lean on the most are formatters and some little things like bracket colorization. So it may sound silly. But as we go down this list, those are just ones I immediately think of. Other ones that are interesting, so let's go top to bottom. Token count. Token count is good because you can understand how large a file is getting through the lens of an LLM. Token count allows, it's basically the metric that the LLMs use instead of characters. So this one by Karl Marx lets you see this in the bottom. And then other things in here, I'll just call out auto rename tag, helpful, auto docstring when you're working with Python. The better Tamil language support, biome. Biome, I think, is the way to go when you're working with web projects. It is essentially a formatter and a linter. So it replaces ESLint and Prettier, and it just works. And it can be very strict. It's written in Rust, so it's super performant. Then we have Black Formatter. Black Formatter is the formatter for Python. We have this bracket pair colorization trigger. So you can see when I click on this, that as I click on something, it will show me the color behind the brackets, just easier for visibility. We have cat pachine icons for VS Code. So that's what they look like on the left-hand side. We have the ChatGPT work with code on macOS, which allows me to get this nice little tag. And it is interesting because the better that OpenAI gets with their updates, the more that it's chewing into the ecosystem of the agent, but I don't think it's going to replace it. It's just not close enough, but it does allow you to connect that there. We have Cloak, which is for hiding things. You won't need that unless you're screen sharing a lot. We have Color Highlight, which does just that. It shows you the color of whatever hex code or HSL that you have. I have a couple other things. The copy text of selected files. So this one allows you to select multiple files and then copy content of selected files. So it basically just lets you bring them all to the clipboard, and that's helpful if you're bringing files into a different place. Like this is, I think originally was when I was just trying to use Grok 3 and there was no API. We have Dino for the language server. We have dev containers for doing dev containers. We have Docker. We have .env. We have error lens, which is really nice. It's inline errors, so you don't have to open anything. They're just right there. If you see red, go fix it. We have ES7. This is a classic one. So if I did RFCE and I had the right language mode on, basically what it does is it allows you to type in shorthands. So that would be React Functional Component Export. And that one's nice. ESLint, Expo Tools, Figma for VS Code, never used that. I'm just going to call it the ones that I actually use. The GitHub Actions, of course, you need that. Get Lens for seeing the history of things. So if I clicked on the previous changes, I can see like what's happened within this file and also see blames and all that fun stuff. Go, in case you're using Go for language support. Other ones, let's see. trying to think of the ones that are really important. I think iSort, good. All the Jupyter stuff. Live share, if you're doing, I don't know, random live sharing. Markdown all in one. Find this really helpful. Lua, in case you are doing different NVim config stuff. That's really only what I use Lua for. Nginx, language support. Noctis is a nice theme, but I don't use that. I'm currently rocking the GitHub one, and I'll show you my settings there in a bit. Pace is very nice, though. That's the one that Shad CN was using. Postgres tools, this is for language support right in your IDE, especially for Supabase. Pretty TypeScript errors. They inject the errors on top of the on hover, which is really nice. Prisma, project manager, I never use it. Never use projects either. Pylance, Python, and Python debugger, all necessary. What else? Trying to keep this interesting. Rainbow CSV, just nice for actually getting some formatting on your CSVs if you do have any in your project. Then we have some remote stuff for dealing with VPSs. We have Rough, which is the linter and formatter that you combine with Black when working with your Python projects. Simple React snippets, that's just more of the same. SQL tools, very nice for both connecting, but it's like an all-in-one tool for working with SQL and Postgres. The Supabase extension would only really work with VS Code. Swift, what else? Tailwind CSS, Tailwind Docs is nice. So if I do Tailwind, right, then I can pull up the browser full of docs in here. To-do tree is a new one that I've added. It basically just shows you if you do have to-dos or fix-me's or whatever, it will put better markers around them and it'll help bubble those up so that you make sure you get them done. Vim, this is maybe the most important one for me, but just being able to hop around using Vim motions, really nice. And you'll see in my settings file in a second how I have it set up so that it doesn't basically blow through your performance. Waka time will show you the amount of time that you spend on each project. Very nice. XML tools, YAML tools, and that's mostly it. Cool. So I'll just do the same thing when I'm using other tools. Now let's go into settings.json. And I'm using an SF Mono font nerd. So it is the Apple one that's ligaturized, meaning I'll get the italics, I'll get the icons if it was not ligaturized and it was not a nerd font, then I wouldn't get all that nice stuff. Font size 13, line height 1.7, other things, cursor blinking smooth. I use relative numbers for hopping around using Vim motions, so you'll see like this is going to be, if I opened up like this, you can see how many you are away from the current. Really helpful. Rendering white space is trailing. Other ones that are important in here, yeah, just more font stuff. And as we get down, it's all GitHub. The icon theme is Cappuccino Frappe. I really like the look of it. It's also dynamic, so if you'll notice little things, how they change based on the status of your folders and your directories. And then formatters, I'll have JavaScript, the default one for Biome. I think I just have this one in place because I do open a lot of ESLint supported projects. It's a default. JSON-C, we have the VS Code JSON language stuff. So JSON-C is just allowing for comments in JSON. XML, we have one for that. What else is interesting in here? That's pretty much it. Are there any? Yeah, the Vim ones are in here. So I literally just am using the basic ones and making sure that the clipboard is the system one because I don't utilize the other buffer. I'm doing too much copy pasting from file to file, so it's easier for me to just have everything on the clipboard. That is it for my setup. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But that's what I use. What am I missing? What's something that I should have in here that I don't? I'd love to hear from you guys. I guess maybe one of them is just this, like in terms of patterns, is something that I'm doing where AI docs is something that I learned from indie dev Dan. And just figuring out how I want to have this set up in each one of my apps, where it's like the AI docs will have examples, and then it'll also have a combination of the memory bank and prompts. So that's the direction I'm going in. If you found this helpful, make sure you like the video. If you want to check out the community, it's half off until we launch the new service. We got a lot of smart people in there. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.